Well, the two-time world champion Max Verstappen has led from turn one, and now he has chalked up his 7th consecutive win this season as Red Bull make motorsport history and stretch their legs at the top of both standings. This is your Hungarian Grand Prix post-race show. Well, hello and welcome to a very busy paddock after that one, and a big warm welcome to Pietro Haas, reserve driver, who joins me to unpack that one. And we'll start with the top line. That is undoubtedly, yes, Max Verstappen's 7th consecutive win, now a gap of over 100 points at the top of the standings. But equally, Red Bull have made history. Pietro, 12 consecutive wins in a row, surpassing that record of McLaren's in 1988. That is something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's, spectacular. 12 wins in a row. It's almost, it's basically half a season that you're winning without letting anybody else win. So, and the way they're going, they could win basically till the end of the season. Imagine winning every single race in a season. That's pretty amazing. It is, and at the start of the season, it seemed unimaginable that perhaps a team could do that. And now we're almost midway through. It's not. I can't imagine a scenario in which they are beaten unless we see a crash out or a failure of the car. Yeah, exactly that. And I think here at the Hungarian, it was one of their weaker tracks, and we saw that in qualifying. Everybody was a bit tighter. Sergio struggled to get through on the hard and then on the medium tire. But I think from now on, they're going to be strong everywhere. If there was one race where I think that they would struggle a bit more, it would have been here at this track. So from now on, it does look like it's going to be a domination. I hope not, so to make it more exciting, yeah. But we'll see. Yeah, we will try to sell it to you a bit better. Do stay with us. Do stick with us for the rest of this Formula One season. There is still so much intrigue, but I think it's difficult not to be disappointed that the battle for first didn't last much further than turn one. So let's take a look back at that start. Lewis Hamilton obviously on pole after 33 races away, and his last win coming in Saudi Arabia in 2021 when he was last on pole. And then here, this race start, Pietro. Just talk us through it. Yeah, Lewis usually has a really good start. He had a good launch off the line, but I don't know if he just wheel spinned a little bit too much on that second phase of the start. And then Verstappen just got it on the inside, ran him a little bit wide. He kind of outbraked himself, but he did it perfectly there, and was just able to, get the lead. And then you have is it Norris, I believe, in second place, was able to overtake Hamilton as well, and then Piastri. And that was it. I was expecting a lot better start from Lewis there, to be honest. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton losing the 3 places at the start. Lando Norris actually being surpassed by Oscar Piastri. A great start for him, but not quite to be in the race. And we will get on to that, indeed, as he just began to lose a bit of pace and actually had damage as well to his car. But Zhou, that was one of the stars of qualifying, one of the star standout performances. Everyone was so excited to see what the Alfa Romeos could do in P5 and P7. And Zhou just couldn't get off the line. Yeah, something must have gone very wrong there, because it wasn't just a normal, I lose 1 or 2 spots, kind of like Lewis did. He got a bit of wheel spin. I don't know if the car bogged down, but usually sometimes what happens is if you're too aggressive on the clutch release, the car gets into an anti-stall. Yeah. So to avoid the car from dying and stalling, it goes into anti-stall. Then you got to engage the clutch again and then release. And that's kind of what I see happen to him, because it wasn't just a normal, I just wheel spinned off the start. No, he lost, I don't know, 8 places or something. Yeah, and his bad day went a hell of a lot worse. He went right into the back of Daniel Ricciardo. Here we're seeing the onboard into the back of Daniel Ricciardo, which then skittled Daniel Ricciardo back on the grid, of course, for the first time this season, into both Alpines. And you can see the damage done. Esteban Ocon crashing to the ground and actually saying that his seat snapped in half on the impact of hitting the floor. Such was that collision over his teammate Pierre Gasly. But for a second race weekend in a row, double DNF for Alpine. Yeah, that wasn't great. Obviously for them, I think they would have been in a position to maybe fight for points. Although their race pace yesterday in practice and stuff, it didn't look fantastic. But to have 2 DNFs already at the start, your chances of doing anything it's out the window. Zhou did get a 5-second penalty. He served that in his pit stop. But we now can hear from Esteban Ocon. He's in the pen with Greg Stewart.
Esteban, so sorry to see you here so early. Can you just describe how you experienced that from the cockpit?
Yeah, not much to really comment. Unfortunately, we just suffered a strike into turn 1. It's just a mistake from Zhou in the back, and that led us to a massive hit. I took off by I don't know, 3 meters, 4 meters, I don't know, on the rear wheels. And when I landed, it was a big hit. You know, my seat broke in pieces, in 2 parts. So you know, that tells how much the impact was. And unfortunately, you know, both cars were out after that. So you know, those are good consequences from racing in the back. People tend to take more risk. We knew it, and we suffer from it today. So you know, we're going to be racing again next week, and that's the good thing, that we can, you know, forget quickly this weekend.
Given that, as you say, big impact, how are you feeling physically now?
So far, I'm still warm, so it's okay. I'm lucky enough to be, you know, between a team of very professional people, and you know that I should be taken care well of.
Good of you. Thank you.
Well, quite the collision for Ocon, and we are very glad to hear that he is okay. But I'd imagine that kind of impact, compression on the spine, on the back, the neck, what would it feel like?
Yeah, that's the worst part. When you get the car kind of lifting and when it lands again and you get that impact straight from your seat, you feel it like in your spine, in your nerves. You sometimes even get it, you know, on the cars on the exit, they bottom out in those curbs. It's the same sort of feeling. You feel it going straight to your spine and through your neck. It's pretty bad.
Oh gosh, yeah, really tough. If you're wondering why we do seem to have, there are bits of confetti that have come over from the podium, are still wafting about the air here. So if we do get some in our face or on our hair, just ignore it. Daniel Ricciardo, not a great start for him, obviously, with what happened there with Zhou and going off track and indeed skittling the Alpines as well. But a recovery for him, P13, you know, he finished where he started in his first race back and probably learned a lot out there as well.
I think he did a phenomenal job. I mean, starting from qualifying yesterday, he, you know, already did a very good qualifying for the team. Today, yeah, there was an issue on the start. Zhou ended up hitting him, but he recovered. I mean, they put him on a good strategy as well, but he executed. His pace was very good, and he maximized the, you know, what the car could do today, which was 13th. I don't think they could have done much more.
No, that was their best qualifying position in the last 5 AlphaTauri races, as Williams are just furiously trying to get bits and bobs through to begin the D-rig. Of course, a frantic D-rig here because it is a back-to-back race. So, of course, we are going from Hungary straight to Spa in Belgium. That's a sprint weekend as well. And so you will see a lot of activity through the back of shot, but that is the paddock. That is the post-race paddock. That's the fun of it. We look ahead in the race then to McLaren, and I think what we began to see was a battle of ambition. Oscar Piastri, of course, with a brilliant start, right up there into P2, overtaking his teammate. And then Lando Norris, to preserve his spot on the podium, had to go for the undercut on Oscar Piastri and got it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's pretty crazy how McLaren have been able to up their form so much from the beginning of the season. Obviously in Silverstone, they were already crazy fast. And I think Lando he even said, I don't think we'll be able to kind of do what we did at Silverstone, but they have. I mean, their pace is very, very good. Obviously, it's very hard to compete with the Red Bulls, but today, I mean, they look like the second best team out there.
Yeah, for sure. And also you can see that it is really those upgrades that are making the difference, because Oscar Piastri in Austria was right down there, P17 or 18 as I remember, and obviously Lando Norris up in P4, and then he closed up to be right up there, you know, battling for that podium yet again, you know, and still up there in the top 5 now.
Yeah, I mean, they've done that means that the upgrades are working.
Yeah.
Whatever they're able to do, they're able to maximize it. They found their weak spots and they've been able to work on it. A lot of times when teams bring upgrades and stuff, you don't see a big difference. And but with them, it's I mean, you're seeing it in results. It's not just like, yeah, we're a bit quicker here, but you end up not getting any results from it. They're, I mean, finishing on the podium now.
And it's an overall package as well, isn't it? Because it works in Austria, it works in Silverstone, high speed, but also high downforce, and it works here, slow speed and high downforce. We do have Alex Brundle and Sam Collins, who are somewhere in the melee of this paddock, to talk through exactly what's going on with McLaren.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a funny one. We've just been chatting down here in the paddock while everybody's sort of unpacking and packing up and everything that's been going on, getting ready to go off to Belgium. Alex, right, at the start of the race, quite early on, we saw the two McLaren stop, but by my reckoning, they stopped in the wrong order. They stopped in such a way that Lando was able to undercut his teammate.
So they were under pressure from Leclerc, which will be the team's excuse to Oscar for later on. But we heard that radio. He's still on his best behaviour, isn't he, Oscar Piastri? The radio message we heard a few laps later just had that tinge of disappointment to it. And I do wonder if the set of hards he put on then, Piastri, he pushed a little bit too hard on them and maybe damaged them, because the next stint wasn't as sweet for him, and that's really where he lost the time and was under pressure, of course, for the end of the race.
Well, we have seen McLaren do this before. I think if you go back to the early days where Lando Norris is fighting with Daniel Ricciardo, of all people, for that win at Monza, and Lando being told to hold station and not be able to go past and not get that debut victory, and he's still waiting for that, of course. This is a bit of a difficult call for a team to say to a driver who's clearly quick, clearly on the pace, clearly driven to want to do something a bit special. It looked to me like they did it on, but I don't think they were fighting Leclerc too much because they were so close together. It was a straight decision.
I think it was just a jumpy call, honestly. I think it was a jumpy call. They didn't need to cover off Leclerc, really. They had the pace over Leclerc. And actually what they did is give themselves both a really long stint at the end on mediums to do, which then put Piastri under pressure, and even Norris under pressure from Perez charging through. So they'll learn from that one. It's been a while, hasn't it? Even still, they're getting back used to being at the front of the field. And I think that's what we're seeing. Woking strategic department going, we're at the front. What are we going to do now, still after a couple of races of doing so?
We're at the front and we've just lost our record to Red Bull as well from 1988. A lot of people were asking why Piastri dropped back a little bit after that. Well, when we got into that little tussle with Perez, it seems like there was a bit of underbody damage on one of the curbs to that McLaren, and that's why he faded a little later on.
Well, there was a discussion, wasn't there, about forcing off track there for Piastri. I mirror commentary's view on this. I thought it was incredibly mature and fair of Piastri then to say, yeah, he pushed me a little bit wide, but I'm not going to fall into the trap of complaining too much. But he was losing a little bit of pace even before this. We're talking about a bit of fuel damage from running wide for Oscar, which compounded issues to the end of the race. Still looking for that first podium, of course, in Formula One.
And both of the Team Papaya cars were just a little bit, they were pushing the track limits, and a few times I was like, okay. And then, of course, Lando was pushing the pit lane speed limiter quite hard, and then Piastri, of course, it just wasn't... It was missed opportunity, a race of missed opportunities. But overall, you and I were both agreeing that despite being a race of missed opportunities, when we saw the real pace of the Red Bull, I think...
I think the Red Bull just dominant today. What really impressed me is how McLaren made that Mercedes power unit work the way Mercedes couldn't in the hot conditions, and that has really demonstrated a demonstration of the pure efficiency of that papaya McLaren.
And that's all about the car design, and that car design will be one that everybody's going to be watching. But Laura, back to you at the desk to talk a little bit more about some of the other cars in the field.
Thank you very much indeed, Sam. I have a feeling that those two together, Sam and Alex, could talk and talk and talk and talk, and we love to hear it as well. And yeah, you know, you're right. It was classy. It was mature from Oscar Piastri in what was a tricky race for him that held so much promise and ultimately didn't quite deliver that podium he is so close to.
Yeah, but I'm sure the podium is coming soon. The way that they've been upping their game here lately, and he's driving very well. I'd say sometimes like on par with Lando, and he still is gaining experience every race weekend. I'm sure that podium could arrive this season.
McLaren, obviously one of the teams who were struggling with tyre degradation today in the hot temperatures and indeed in the varying strategies that we did see. For you guys at Haas, it's an ongoing issue, isn't it? We're seeing Nico Hülkenberg certainly getting amongst it in Q3, but translating that into points on a Sunday is proving a little trickier. What's going on?
Yeah, I think our car is super fast in qualifying. Obviously, Kevin is struggling a little bit more. I think the way the car is going, it's not suiting his driving style as much. But in qualifying, Nico's able to extract, I mean, he always puts in these mega laps, and we get to Q3, but then in the race, it's just, it's been a struggle. I mean, this race weekend was actually a step up compared to the other ones because we were there with the other cars as well, and we were able to kind of stick to where we were. But we're just lacking that race pace, and I think that just comes from just, you know, tire degradation and stuff, and some other teams are struggling with that too. I think Ferrari struggled with it today as well. So just a matter of getting on top of it and making those improvements. That's our weakness.
Yeah, for sure. A P14 then for Nico Hülkenberg, having qualified P10, and a P17 up 2 places from where he qualified for Kevin Magnussen. But good to hear that on a track where certainly tyre deg was going to be an issue, you're seeing some improvements come through. We did have a funny moment on the podium a little bit earlier on. Lando Norris, with his signature move of popping the champagne in the exuberant manner he does, as we can see, knocks Max Verstappen's trophy off the top spot of the podium, ultimately breaking it.
That's terrible. I hope they have another one. So he broke the P1 trophy?
He did, yeah. And apparently in Silverstone as well, the same move, I think, knocked it over, not quite breaking it. Let's take another look at it, because I don't think we've fully taken in what we've just seen, Pietro. Here it is again. So with the signature move then, Lando Norris with that champagne move.
Do you think Max was disappointed, or he has so many that it doesn't really matter?
He's got quite a few, yeah. He has got quite a few now, hasn't he? But no, he did the same thing in Silverstone, just knocking it over this time. And so maybe it's some sort of vendetta. Who knows?
Yeah,
but Norris isn't far from that top step of the podium, is he?
Yeah, and then Verstappen's going to return the favor in his first win.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But look, the hopes were high that we would see somewhat of the rivalry of 2021 reignited in the opening laps of this race, and it was not to be. Lewis Hamilton, as we've mentioned, not with the best start at all by his own very lofty standards, and he seemed to struggle with having pace and then not having pace, and then the pace coming to him again at the end. How did you see that?
So I think the tires, they go through a kind of interesting window where you have pace when they're new and stuff. You kind of start getting a degradation as they start overheating a little bit. Once the car starts settling down, and because of fuel effect, the car gets a bit lighter, you actually recover some of the pace. And some cars tend to have that that effect more aggressively than others. But it happens to Haas as well. Could be a little bit due to maybe the overheating as well and the components of the car. It was super hot here today. I remember start of the race was 52 degrees Celsius track temp. I mean, it's burning hot. So it could be a little bit of overheating in the components there as well.
But you saw that as Lewis Hamilton got towards the end of the race and obviously was kicking out a lot more fuel, and therefore his car was lighter, he was beginning to really gain on Sergio Perez. And you'd think if the race had been a few laps longer, he may just have done it.
Yeah, and it's also as well balanced. Maybe if teams were expecting more degradation, they were a bit, conservative with the balance initially. And then that means that beginning to middle of the race, they're going to suffer a bit more. Once the tire starts degging, the car gets a bit lighter, and then the balance shifts to them. So it's all, and the racing's almost like a game of chess when you set up the car, and the car changes a lot when you're driving it throughout the race.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear what a driver must experience through varying windows and tyre deg and so on. Lewis Hamilton actually expressing sheer shock at the gap that McLaren were able to pull out on him as well. We can now hear from him in the pen with Greg.
Well, Lewis, after the highs of yesterday, I know it's not the result you'd have wanted. Could you just talk us through the lap one for starters?
I fell back, obviously. I hit the target that I was supposed to go to, but just had wheel spin, and then just was under attack all the way till turn 2. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I didn't have the pace to hold on to those guys anyways. So.
How much did you at least enjoy the final laps when the fuel was coming down and you could start edging towards Sergio, even if you didn't end up getting it?
Honestly, there wasn't a lap that I enjoyed driving the car today, because the car didn't feel good today at all. But for some reason, we just generally just lacked pace, and it did get better towards the end, but still it was pretty tough. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to catch Sergio, or at least past Red Bull, because they're obviously so quick. But you live and you learn. Yesterday was a good day, and we'll take the positives from yesterday. But we're a long shot away from winning at the moment.
Yeah, Mercedes with something to be happy about today. Lewis Hamilton not where he wants to be. George Russell, though, a great recovery drive from him, from P18 right up there to P6.
Yeah, I mean, the car has didn't have the pace today to finish on the podium, but it still has very good pace compared to other cars. George was able to come through the field. They had good strategy. He was able to overtake cars and finished 6th at the end, right?
Yeah, P6, exactly that. Another brilliant recovery drive from Sergio Perez, your driver of the day. But I guess you have to ask the question, in that Red Bull that we are seeing now win 12 consecutive races, a new all-time record in Formula One, and indeed that Max has won 7 times in a row, should he be doing these kind of recovery drives?
I think his race pace is phenomenal. He's always raced very well, and his racecraft is really good. That's why he's able to overtake very well in the starts, and he positions himself well in traffic. But obviously, I think that qualifying has to improve for him to be then finishing second or, trying to fight Verstappen for the win at times, as he was doing in the beginning of the year. So I think just that qualifying form is something that that for sure he's going to be looking into to make better.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was P3 today for Sergio Perez, and an all-time fastest pit stop time for the season as well. A 1.9, Pietro. We haven't seen that since obviously the new sort of rules around the pit stop changed. But 1.9 is just extraordinary. Whatever level Red Bull are on, they're surpassing it weekend in, weekend out, aren't they?
That's flying. I mean, if you think as a driver, you're coming into pit lane, you're driving through pit lane, you stop, and it's 1.9 seconds. Usually you're used to doing 5, 6, 7, 6-second pit stops, and 2 seconds, bam, you're out of the box.
It's just extraordinary. It really is. We're used to seeing 2.2 or so, but 1.9, a new record for the season. And we can now hear from your driver of the day in P3, Sergio Perez.
Sergio, back on the podium. How enjoyable was that race for you?
It was a tough race, very hot out there, very demanding physically, but also mentally, looking after the tires, especially with the strategy that we were on, on that hard compound, was quite tricky, but we managed to do it well.
How is this race weekend, the whole thing, been for your soul, just in terms of releasing a psychological burden from you?
Yeah, it's obviously a good result. Now I just have to find that consistency and make sure that we operate on that level. But it's been a very good day in the championship. I mean, for the team to do this record of 12 victories in a row, it's incredible to be part of. And now I'm looking forward massively to Belgium.
There from Sergio Perez, but please welcome Oscar Piastri to the desk. P5 today, Oscar, after a P4 last time out at Silverstone. I know it's not going to be what you want because that podium feels so close, but how do you start your afternoon?
I would say difficult on the whole. The first stint was very good, start was mega, and then just kind of unraveled from the first pit stop onwards. So we'll look at why I struggled so much with the tyres. Clearly it was a pretty key point for this race, so still planning to learn. I think that was one of my first races with really high deg, multiple pit stops, so there's no easy way to learn those things apart from experiencing it the hard way. So plenty to learn from. Was very happy with what I did in the first 15 laps, just a shame that we couldn't hang on.
Was it a case of trying to catch your teammate after the undercut? Did you push a little too hard in the opening part of that second stint?
Not really. I tried to bring the tyres in quite well. Clearly, I didn't do a very good job of that, but I just lacked a lot of pace. I think Lando finished like 30 seconds ahead of me, so whether he undercut me or not didn't make much difference in the end. So I think there's bigger things I need to focus on first. Of course, it probably wasn't ideal, but I need to put myself in a position where I can fight to stay with him. So we'll look at what I could do better next time, and that'll naturally make my life easier.
And Oscar, in this heat, is it very physical when you do the full race? I mean, in the heat and the conditions that we have today?
Yeah, it was a hard race out there. A lot of corners around here, some quick ones, so my neck's feeling it. A very hot race as well, and considering it's quite a short lap, it's a very action-packed lap. You've got a lot of corners, not much time to rest, 70 laps. It's probably one of the tougher races of the year, combined with going backwards and having a Red Bull and a Mercedes coming at you. It's not a very nice feeling, but I feel okay. Not completely ruined. So yeah, good motivation for the rest of the season.
And very quickly before we let you go, just talk us through that moment with Sergio Perez as well, where you were off track, you sort of saying, well, he didn't give me much space, but not necessarily push me off, and the damage to your car after that.
Yeah, I probably could have defended a bit harder into turn one. It was always going to be tricky to stay on the outside of turn two, especially when he was about a second a lap faster than me. So maybe a few things I could have done differently. If I was still well and truly in the fight, maybe I would have pushed a bit harder to have that position back. But when you finish 25 seconds behind that guy, there's not much point in complaining. So some things for myself to worry about first, and then then we can worry about that.
I think you're being quite hard on yourself because you do forget you are a rookie still in Formula One, and a P4 and a P5 in the last 2 races is not to be sniffed at. So well done. Thanks for chatting with us today and appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All the best moving
Cheers.
forward to Spa.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar. You can take your water. Yeah, just pop it down there. Lovely. Thanks very much. Okay, well, a driver who got a 5-second penalty today for speeding in the pit lane in an attempt to undercut his teammate Carlos Sainz is Charles Leclerc. Let's hear from him now.
Well, Charles, it looked like a hot, perhaps frustrating afternoon for you out there. How was it from your side?
Well, yeah, it's a shame. The first set, honestly, I felt quite good on it. We had quite a good pace. Then we had a slow stop that puts us quite a lot on the back foot. Then I was with Carlos, and there we maybe lost a little bit of time. Then on the last set, I started to push a bit more again, and it was better. There's also a 5 seconds penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So all in all, not a great day again.
And you're going to be pushing the guys back in Maranello to try and put you back in the fight, given the performance shown by McLaren?
Yes, for sure. Even though today, honestly, in pure race pace, I think we weren't that bad. It's just that with the slow pit stop plus the 5 seconds penalty, it puts us in a very difficult situation for the second stint. And there we lost a little bit. We lost too much to the guys in front. I think at least Oscar was reachable. Lando was maybe a bit more difficult as they've got a bit more pace, but yeah, there's definitely a step forward we need to do because now Mercedes, Red Bull and McLaren are ahead.
Yeah, P7 for Charles Leclerc, of course, over the line P6, but the penalties saw him demoted below George Russell. And a P8 for Carlos Sainz. There was also a slow stop as well for Charles Leclerc. A frustrating afternoon for a racing driver who I feel, Pietro, is already a bit frustrated. How do you view the Ferrari situation at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I think it maybe started a bit from last year. They had a very fast car in the beginning of, this new generation Formula One car. But yeah, it's just been a struggle, and I thought that they would be able to recover now coming into the second season and maybe bringing some upgrades throughout the season, but it's just been a bit tough. I mean, I think they've been improving, but other teams have been improving even more, and I think it is possible to make those big leaps, as we've seen McLaren has been able to do, and Aston Martin from last year to this year. So it's a tough one. So for sure in his position, yeah, he's very frustrated probably.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, this battle for P2 for best of the rest, because weekend in, weekend out, it seems to be a different team, and sometimes it's track specific, sometimes it's not. We can't seem to find the trends of who will take that P2, P3 spot.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just about getting the setup right. The lap times are so close now. You look at it in qualifying, and it's like 1/10 is splitting you from like P7 to P15 or whatever. So it's just about sometimes just getting the balance right makes a massive difference. That's why I think we see so much inconsistencies in the results from that, P2 team all the way to P8.
Yeah, it's fascinating for us to watch the battles that are going on. We look back towards the start of the race now, and of course, double DNF for Alpine, and Imi Barkley is with Otmar Zafnauer.
So Otmar Zafnauer, what goes through your mind at the start of a race like this? It's so disappointing. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, very disappointing. I mean, 2 more DNFs. The only thing that goes through your mind is there are certain things in life where you have no control over, and you just have to put it past you. Something like that. Both drivers had a good start. Pierre was up to 10th and positioned well. And I think it was Zhu into Ricciardo into Esteban into Pierre. It's unfortunate, but like I say, from the pit wall there's no control, and there's probably no control from the car either when somebody runs into you like that.
Is there some silver lining in the fact that it wasn't your fault? It wasn't the driver's fault?
Yeah, well, there is that, and also we already looked at some simulations as to where we could have finished, and we would have had a good chance of getting them both into the points. So, I mean, I know you have to make some assumptions, but our assumptions are usually pretty good. So there are some silver linings for here and Silverstone. We were running well at Silverstone until the safety car got us, but we'll be back.
You will be back. Thank you so much, Otmar. Best of luck to
Amy.
Alpine in the future.
Yes, Alpine do have pace, but double DNFs in 2 consecutive race weekends is not pretty viewing at all. Indeed, while their closest competitors, McLaren, soar to the podium. It'll be interesting to see. Just beneath the Ferraris of Leclerc and Sainz, we saw Aston Martin finish today, Stroll recovering up to P10 for a single point, and Fernando Alonso, P9 was all he could muster, hoping to get in the top 6. But we saw this funny moment, didn't we, in the pit stop, actually one of a number of slow stops we saw today, where it seemed he forgot to brake and the rear axle was still going. We've got it. We've got the footage here, and it just seemed that he forgot to brake, and they simply had to wait for that rear axle.
Oh, that's, yeah. I mean, that can happen sometimes if you just come off the brake, and that's actually the most dangerous thing that can happen for the mechanics, because if they have their hand in there and the wheel is spinning. It's happened a couple times in other series I've raced in where a mechanic like loses a finger or something because the wheel is spinning fast at like, I don't know, 9,000 RPM, and so luckily nothing happened. But it's the pit stops are always a bit tense, and those things happen sometimes.
An uncharacteristic mistake from the very, very experienced Fernando Alonso, who of course got his first win ever in Formula One here 20 years ago. But Aston Martin continued to search for pace, as P9 and P10 is all they could muster today. Another driver who has won here before and had an uphill task today was Daniel Ricciardo, back on the grid. Let's hear from him.
Well, Daniel, you're back in Formula One, right back in the thick of the action. Lap 1, turn 1. Can you just talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a welcome back. I feel like it's probably, I don't know, like maybe your first NFL game, someone's going to put like a big tackle on you just to welcome you to the sport. So I guess it was a version of that. But obviously that was disappointing, just to be out of position, from the start with that incident. As soon as I got hit, I knew I was going to pretty much go to the end of the field, the tail, and I was immediately obviously disappointed. But then the next thought was, please don't have damage. I need to do this race. I need to learn the car, and for myself as well, just keep learning, and physically, just to do a race distance. So fortunately, the damage was really minor, and I could get on with it. And I think after that, we made a good race. It was, I would say, pretty much impossible from the tail of the field to get back in anywhere inside the points. But I think we still put on a strong showing, and I felt good. I felt good in the car, and that was something which was certainly a question mark, not doing it for 8 months. Especially around here, it's a tough track. So other than lap 1, turn 1, a good day.
So basically, you think this AT04 is a car you can work with, this car you can get along with?
Yeah, I felt good in it. Obviously, we're operating at a little bit lower level of grip than the front cars, but it feels relatively balanced. I think we just got to try and find, honestly, just some overall downforce and try to keep chipping away at it. And obviously, it's my first weekend. I'll keep learning as well as we go, but try to also give the team as much feedback as I can. Cheers, thank you.
Well, 2 things struck me in that Daniel Ricciardo interview there. One, that he said, I hope I have no damage because I've got to do this race. The ambition that still burns in the former Red Bull third driver. But also, his voice was croaky, it was tired. With all due respect to Daniel, he looked pretty tired as well. Demonstrating just how physical it is to be back in a Formula One car and on a track like this, Pietro.
Yeah, this track is, as Oscar said, it's one of the most physical tracks in the calendar because you don't have long straights to rest, so it's constant corners, constant G's that you're pulling, so your body is having to withstand that for the whole race. I was testing last week with Haas at Silverstone, and we did many laps, like over 100, and honestly, by the end of it, I was destroyed. So if you think Ricciardo, he was doing the test in the same day, and he only had that to prep, and then coming straight into a race weekend, for sure, he was going to be very, very tired here, but by Spa already, he's going to be much more physically prepared.
Yeah, and we saw earlier in the weekend as well, his neck just wobbling a little bit more than perhaps we're used to over some curbs. Very sadly, we have to say goodbye to Pietro Fittipaldi, as we say, back-to-back. So the team's transport plans are whisking him away, but thank you as ever for being our co-host. We love having you on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed to Pietro. And we can now speak to P2, his 8th career podium, Lando Norris.
Well, Lando, P2 again. I'll let you have a sip of water. Congratulations. How are you feeling after that one?
Very happy. Yeah, tough race. Yeah, hot, physically quite tough. Pushing the whole way. I lost a bit at the start, just with being unlucky on the outside. But we fought back well. Got Lewis in turn 2. Got Oscar in the pit stops. So yeah, good race. I tried the best I could to keep up with Max, but he was too quick again. So the challenge was making sure we stayed ahead of Checo and the rest. But the pace was good. We struggled probably a bit more with Deg with these hotter temperatures. He didn't suit us maybe quite as well as what Friday did, so made my life tougher. But nevertheless, P2, good load of points, another podium. So very happy with the whole team.
So P2 in Silverstone, P2 this very different track. That's important, isn't it? That's significant.
I mean, a podium is always important no matter where you are. So, yeah. Just, I guess there is still going to be some tougher tracks coming up, but to have 2 in a row is very promising for the whole team. Also for us, I think we kind of, I guess we still didn't expect to have improved this much. Others seem to have probably taken a step back. You know, like Astons and Ferraris were clearly ahead of all of us in the beginning. Now everyone seems closer together. So the top teams have not been able to find maybe as much time as what some of the other teams behind have, but at the same time, yeah, I don't really care where we are. As long as I'm on the podium, I'm happy. So another good weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
A very good weekend indeed for McLaren, and astonishing to look back at the season at a point where they were simply using one of the races just almost for training, almost just to get some lap time in and some data testing in now, and they're very much at the pointy end and on the podium and fighting for wins as well. It's brilliant to see McLaren resurgent and back at the top end, and Imi is down with Zak Brown to find out more.
Zak Brown, what a good time you're having.
We are having fun right now, a lot more fun than we had at the start of the year. Drivers did a great job, pit stops were strong, and the race car was strong. So got to keep our head down and see what we can do in Spa.
What do results like this say to you for the rest of the season when we're coming back after summer break? I mean, you're on such an upswing now.
I'm so impressed with all the men and women at McLaren who didn't get their head down at the start of the year. What they did was got their drawings done in manufacturing and reliability and execution at the racetrack. So it's just a great team effort to start where we started and be where we are right now. But you see how quickly things can change for the good and the bad with some of the teams down pit lane. So we just got to keep our head down.
You must be so impressed with Lando being on that podium again after Silverstone as well. But let's talk about Oscar, because in the opening patches of the race, I mean, he was
awesome,
wasn't he?
He was awesome.
It's his 11th GP. I mean,
we have 2 great Grand Prix drivers. So all the things that you need to be successful in Formula One, it starts with having 2 great drivers. That part we've got. So now we just need to continue to push, give them a faster car. But we're getting there, and no doubt both drivers are race winners, and very impressive how they drove.
What are you most proud of about them right now?
That they're bringing the car home. You know, there's pressure when you're not doing well. There's even more pressure when you're doing well. And you know, Oscar, who took a year off of racing, they're just not making any mistakes. They're racing hard. They're pushing hard. They're getting along great, and the team love them. So I couldn't be happier with our drivers.
Well, fantastic stuff. Well done, you.
Thank you.
Oh, there is a very, very good vibe at McLaren right now, isn't there? And it's great to see. And don't forget, Mika Häkkinen predicted this a month or so ago, and we weren't quite sure, but now we are very much eyes open to the threat that Papaya are bringing to the Formula One world, but not so much still closing the gap to Red Bull. They reign supreme, 12 consecutive wins. Max's 7th consecutive win. No one else has won a Grand Prix since Miami, and he now has 44 career wins as well. We are truly witnessing a period of absolute historic dominance, the likes of which we've seen from former greats, and we can now hear from Max Verstappen.
Well, Max, after the relative frustrations of yesterday, today was simply lovely for you. Talk us through your race, especially from lap 1. Interesting start.
Yeah, start was really good. I mean, everything just went well. I just had a run. I could take the lead into turn 1, and basically from there onwards I could just do my own race and look after the tires. And it's one of those days where just everything goes perfect, and you're just enjoying every lap, smiling in the car, because it's that perfect.
Senna, Prost, McLaren, 88. Now you guys this year, that's a phenomenal achievement from everybody in the team, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something I think we can be very proud of as a team. I think also over the years, you know, nowadays probably even harder to achieve because the gaps between the teams is even smaller, you know, back to when it was in the 80s. But nevertheless, also there, you know, to do that, also there, you know, the retirement rate was a lot higher. So to do 11 wins in a row and now 12 in a row, it's, yeah, crazy. Hopefully, of course, it doesn't stop here.
Just absolutely perfect. The words of Max Verstappen there describing the momentum, the feeling, the sensation of driving in this Red Bull right now. And you could hear it on his race radio, thanking the team for the absolute joy that he gets to experience in leading each and every race weekend at the moment. But look, 12 consecutive wins now for Red Bull, a new record, surpassing that of McLaren of 88. It is truly something special. And Imi caught up with Christian Horner.
Well, Christian, Max kicked that off nicely for you, didn't he?
He's done an amazing job today. I mean, after converting the start from the dirty side of the grid into the lead at the first corner, it was great racing between he and Lewis. Old school, but it was great to see him come out of that first corner ahead. And from that moment on, he really just controlled the race and dictated the race and really stamped his authority on, on what's his 44th victory now.
And speaking of records and milestones like that, congratulations to you at Red Bull. 12 consecutive victories now since McLaren. You own that record. How's that feel? What's that do for your team?
Well, look, it's an amazing achievement for the whole team. I mean, 35 years since, the great McLaren team, with Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. I remember watching as a young child, and obviously, led by Ron Dennis, they achieved so much, and to think that we've managed to now not only match it but now go ahead of that. 12 races in a row is insane, particularly against the level of competition that we have. So it's something that the whole team from every department has played a key role in, and incredibly proud of everything that we've achieved.
What an enjoyable season you're having. Let's look to Sergio now. I mean, he did very well, didn't he? Coming from 9 up to 3rd, and he was just chasing Lando, didn't quite manage it, but did manage the rest of the pack there.
Yeah, I mean, Checo, for me, that was a really strong drive from him today. I mean, he got his elbows out, he had great pace. I mean, his moves on Fernando, on Carlos, on Oscar, on George. I mean, there was some phenomenal racing, and, to get onto the podium, he was hunting Lando down towards the end of the race there, and, really deserved from him. So really, really proud of his performance today.
Well, thank you, Christian. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Christian Horner in hot demand there. The microphone practically ripped from his hand at the end of that interview, but a jubilant Christian Horner as Lando Norris just runs through shot. We'll allow it. P2 for Lando Norris. Brilliant stuff from him. And you should see the human wall around us trying to stop that from happening, and clearly not doing too well. We'll let the Formula One drivers through, though. But yeah, what an unbelievable achievement we have seen here from Max Verstappen and from Red Bull. Max's 7th consecutive win, his 44th career win, a win here at the Hungarian Grand Prix from P2 to give Red Bull their 12th record in a row, beating that of McLaren of 1988. And guess what? If you didn't have that much fun this weekend, we are set for a sprint weekend in Spa in Belgium. Next time up, let's see how it all shapes up. Here is the schedule. We have 1 solitary hour of practice. That is at 1:30 p.m. on Friday, next Friday, 28th of July. And then qualifying for the Grand Prix. That is at 5 p.m. We then have the sprint shootout. I do enjoy a sprint shootout. That is at midday with the sprint race at 4:30. We'll then see the Grand Prix, the Belgian Grand Prix, the final one before we all break for summer. That's at 3 p.m. And of course, we'll have all of our usual output as well, pre and post shows around each and every session. Well, history has been made today at the Hungarian Red Bull with 12 consecutive wins, and Max Verstappen reigns supreme once again in the world of Formula One. My thanks to Greg, to Pietro, to Sam, to Alex, and to Imi. We'll see you in Belgium.
Class of your own, mate. Meeting Sunday night.